Right. So there is a neuroclinical scientist named Lorimer Moseley, and he tells the story in a TEDx talk, and he demonstrates it. He says, I was walking through the bush in Australia, and all of a sudden, I felt something on my left leg. And he explains it as a scientist would, like how the nerve took the message up to the brain, and how the brain perceives it. And the brain said, you're walking through the bush, something touched your leg, no big deal, right? That's what happens when you walk through bush. And then he wakes up in the hospital, and he had been bitten by an eastern brown snake, which is poisonous. Lucky to be alive, okay? So about 6 months later, he's walking through the bush. All of a sudden, guess what happens? He freaks out. He's screaming, the pain is just unbearable. His friend races over, pulls up his pant leg and says, you have been bitten by a twig. Okay, hey, come in,
Good morning.
have a seat.
Thank you.
Nothing, there was no snake, but his brain related the experience to what had happened before. And so because of that, his response was more intense than what it needed to be. How are you? I'm Jenny.
I'm Frank. Hi, Jenny.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
So he talks about pain and how pain is really a construct of the mind. That we actually don't feel pain in our tissues, that we feel pain in our brain. It's a signal, it's a warning. And it's not always accurate. Sometimes the message we're getting is not the true message. And he gives some examples. He gives an example of, he says, it's kind of funny when we do pain testing and people sign up to be the subjects for the pain test, right? We're gonna hurt you. Do you want to participate? And they say yes. He says, but they do. So, they do this test where they put something hot in people's hands and they say, tell us when it's really burning. And they show them different colored lights. And when the light is red, the people, oh, I can't take the burn. But when the light is blue, it's not so bad. But the thing is, the heat's the same. But it's their perception. The brain thinks red is hot and blue is cold. And so it changes the perception. So he talks about in the US, we spend $40 billion a year on chronic pain. And in Australia, they spend more on chronic pain than cardiovascular disease, heart conditions, which is cardiovascular disease, diabetes, and what's the third one? Cancer. Those three. They spend more money on chronic pain. And so it's this huge epidemic that's costing billions of dollars, but also, if you suffer with chronic pain, it's a miserable life. And so how do you get through that? How do you get past that? So today we're going to talk about it, and I'm excited to show you saw a little clip on the video that I used to struggle with chronic pain. And I was able to overcome it with this process, with the power of my mind. And not only that, a lot of other issues I was having in my life. So we're going to get into that today and talk about how you can overcome chronic physical and emotional pain with the power of your mind. So as you guys know, my name is Jenny Harklebrode. I'm now a #1 best-selling author, which is excited, and a speaker and a mind change expert. So in my former life, I was in real estate. Renee used to work with me. She knows we were doing some good stuff, and I ended up having a team of about 5 buyer's agents and 2 full-time secretaries. We were producing double digits in the millions, which gave me a pretty nice lifestyle. And I had the houses and the cars and the travel, and my kids were loving the Disney cruises and all of that. But my greatest claim to fame really is my 4 amazing kids who are now 22, 19, 16, and 12, about to be 13. And my husband, over almost 25 years now, we're going to be celebrating our 25th wedding anniversary. Yeah. So today, people that are struggling with chronic pain, physical or emotional, hire us to reprogram their minds so that they can get out of these pain patterns, these pain cycles. Because most are seeing doctors and Eastern and Western medicine and and feeling miserable, really struggling, and they want to get out of their pain and they don't know how to do it. So we help them. We set up a new automatic operating system, which is simple and powerful and effective, so that they can have their life back, right? That's what I wanted when I had a broken back. I wanted my life back. I wanted to be able to do what I wanted to do, not what my body and my pain dictated that I would do. And I was also struggling with a lot of emotional pain that I was able to overcome with this process. So some of you are in pain. Maybe that's why you're here. I would assume some kind of physical or emotional pain. And sometimes they're one and the same. Sometimes the emotional pain shows up as physical pain. And we're going to talk about that today. And some of you are looking for answers, looking for solutions. You want to know what's something I haven't tried. Just like me when I tried chiropractor and acupuncture, massage and physical therapy, and you saw those pain pills that they prescribed me. That was a real picture, right? And major surgery, they put in rods and screws in a synthetic disc. 3 years later, I still couldn't sit in a chair. They were like, sorry. And I thought, no, not sorry. I gotta fix this. I want my life back, So I started looking at other processes. The power of the mind, I didn't think it was gonna work. I mean, it's my back, it's not my head. But 6 sessions later, 6 hours later, I was pain-free and doing yoga tricks on the bay with my best friend, as you saw in that picture. So today we're going to talk about the subconscious mind, the power of the subconscious mind, how it works, how you got programmed, how you can reprogram it. I'm going to do a demonstration of a subconscious change program process so you can see right here how it works. I'm going to demonstrate it in person, and I'm also going to demonstrate how we do it long distance, because I have a team of mind reprogramming experts. I don't actually do the mind reprogramming work anymore. They do it, and they do it remotely over Zoom online. So I'm going to show you how that works, which is a pretty similar process as in person. So I'll show you how that works, and that's awesome because it's convenient. You don't have to travel anywhere. You can do it on your lunch break. You can do it anytime. It's easy. And I'm also going to tell you how you can connect with me and my team after today if you want to further this conversation. So again, that big day for me was August 10th of 2013 that you saw in the video, where I was on a mountain cliff with my husband. We were at a camp out with a bunch of friends, and we got to this ledge, and my husband said, if I was young and in shape, I'd jump off of here. And I thought, I'm young and in shape. And so I jumped, and while I was in the air, I was thinking, I'm gonna be landing on a rock. How much give is there to a rock? None. I should bend my knees so I don't blow out my knees when I land. But it backfired because I bent my knees too much, so the impact, I just slammed my butt down on the rock, which broke my back. I didn't know at the time my back was broken. I just knew I was screaming and couldn't move, and my husband was saying, get up, walk it off, you're gonna be okay. And I was like, yeah, I can't, right? So they tried to carry me, move me, and I was just like, don't touch me, right? And all I was thinking is, we drove in on a 4-mile bumpy dirt road to get to our campsite. So I'm thinking, even if they could get me to the campsite, there's no way I can handle that road, So they call 911. Thankfully it works. I didn't realize it works when you're out of the service area. They have satellite for 911, so thank you. So, but 911 says, if she's not dying, she's not bleeding out, we have to send in a ground crew first. And I'm thinking, how long is that gonna take, right? So I'm screaming, and I can see them so far away, their yellow jackets, hiking through the forest. And I'm like, I'm gonna die before they get here. Not of bleeding out, but just shock, pain, Anyhow, they finally get to me, and guess what they say? You need life flight. I know!
Yeah. How long was that from when the ground?
An hour. It took them an hour to hike in. And then they called life flight. Yeah, however long, yeah. So, and the funny thing is, when the ground crew came, they were like, so, tell us about your hobbies. And I'm like, no. Tell us about your kids. What do you like to do with them? I was in such a bad mood. I'm like, I'm not talking to you. In between my screams. Like, no small talk. Yeah. So anyhow, so they ziplined me up to the hovering helicopter because it couldn't land. Take me to the hospital, do the x-rays, MRIs, everything, tell me my back's broken. And luckily, my spinal cord wasn't severed, so I wasn't paralyzed. I was just in a lot of pain and had a broken back. So they said, here's a bunch of pills and go home and lay in bed until you can move again. And that was hard because I was a mom of 4, had a busy real estate business, and was super involved in my community, and I couldn't do anything anymore physically, right? I could be on the phone in bed and on my laptop, and I didn't feel a whole lot like that because I was hurting. So as time went on, my mobility came back, but as my mobility came back, my pain got worse and worse and worse and worse. It was the weirdest thing, right? And so I just kept seeing new people every day. Help me, fix my pain, what's going on? Something must still be wrong. So I actually didn't have the back surgery until 2 years after I broke my back. Because by then I had tried everything and pretty much given up. There's gotta still be something structurally wrong. I can't even sit, right? And so the first doctor told me, he was this big specialist that I had to wait forever to get in to see. He said, I don't know if this is gonna help you. He says, what I see in the MRI and what you're demonstrating here doesn't line up. You seem worse than what it looks like. And I'm thinking, they just can't tell. It's on, open it up and find out. Anyhow, they do the surgery. So then I got 5 big cuts in my back, down my side, sleeping on metal. The first night I laid in bed, I'm like, there's a screwdriver under me. And I'm reaching for it. I'm like, oh, that's me. Oh, this is gonna suck for the rest of my life, right? Luckily, I don't know, you get used to it or something. I don't feel the screwdriver anymore, but I can't twist very well. I'm held up. I have good posture though.
Yeah.
So I'm laying in bed and I'm thinking, okay, how am I gonna fix this? But I'm also thinking about some other things, which is I was a gym rat. I was really into being in shape, and I'm thinking, oh no, I can't exercise. I was obsessed with calorie counting, and I'm like, oh my gosh, now I just can't eat, right? So I started studying health. And actually wrote a book about health with all that I learned and totally changed my diet, and way less now than when I broke my back, which is crazy. So that was one blessing from my accident. And then I started thinking about my 3 secrets, which back then I didn't tell anybody, but now I announce it from stage almost every weekend. So my 3 secrets. Number 1 is this pain thing wasn't new to me. I've been struggling with chronic pain my whole life. And there was always something wrong with me. And I was always taking about 30 ibuprofen a day, because I felt okay when I did that, right? But after so many years of that, I went into liver failure, I had ulcers in my stomach and my bladder, and the doctors were like, you have to stop this right now. You can't do this anymore. Well, when I stopped, then I couldn't handle the pain. So then they were doing surgeries for other things that were bothering me, full hysterectomy, different things like this. And it was always then I had an infection for a year and a half after the surgery. And it was always something was wrong with me since I was little. I lived in the nurse's office growing up at school. I was always in there. But I didn't tell anybody that, because in my family, we'll talk about subconscious programming, you put on a happy face. You tell everybody everything's good. That was a program I learned, so that's what I did. Renee worked for me in my house. She probably didn't even know.
I
Never
That's
knew.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I'm
I'm happy, I'm healthy, I'm terrific. I told myself that all day, every day. I didn't feel that way on the inside, but that's what I told everybody, and even myself. So that was my first secret. My second secret was My marriage was miserable. 20 years of miserable, right? But I put on a happy face, told everybody it was awesome. I mean, I married my high school sweetheart. We have 4 beautiful kids. Look at this beautiful life we're living, right? But on the inside, not so happy. How do you fix that? Well, what did we do? Therapy and prayers and counselors, bishops, read books, had date night, tried harder, worked on our communication. It wasn't helping. It was just getting worse. And I wanted out really, really bad. You know what I wanted? I wanted to just vanish into thin air, because then I didn't have to face anybody. I didn't have to say I didn't make it work. I was a failure. But darn it, I didn't vanish into thin air. So that was my second problem. My third problem was real estate. It wasn't really my passion. I was good at it. I was successful at it. But I used to sit in my meetings, my real estate meetings, thinking, what if I could do something that I was just I just couldn't wait to talk about it. I just couldn't wait to tell people. I was so excited. I was always posting and always learning and always, wouldn't that be amazing to do something like that? And I'd be sitting in my real estate meetings, and it's funny because I thought, well, what can I do? And all the things that I thought of were medical things, because that was my life, right? I could be an anesthesiologist, I could be a medical doctor, all these things, because that's who I hung out with. But then I was like, okay, reality check. You have 4 kids, right? And real estate, you can juggle the kids and the business, right? I'm home for them, I drive them to school, I pick them up. It's just not realistic for me to go to medical school. So forget about your dreams and put your nose to the grindstone and keep making money. And I would tell myself that every month sitting in those meetings, right? And so I thought, life's too short to just keep doing something that's not my passion. I want to find my passion, and I didn't even know what it was. And so I thought about those things. And like I mentioned to you, as time went on, my pain just kept getting worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. And so those things kind of went to the back burner, and it was like, you have to fix this pain, right? We were seeing, actually 2 doors down, we were seeing a marriage therapist here, and he said, you need to get out of pain, and then we'll work on your marriage. You can't even sit in the session, you're standing against the wall with tears in your eyes, not because of your marriage, because of your back pain, right? So thankfully, in 2015, I was introduced to a medical doctor turned kinesiologist. Now, I didn't think this process would work. I'd been to many kinesiologists already, and I went into his office. Funny thing, he lives a mile south of here. I lived about a mile west of here, so he was literally in my backyard. He invites me to his house, which is weird, medical doctor, right? Takes me through this adobe house of his to his office, and he asks me what's going on? And I said, I can't sit down. It's been 3 years. I'm in terrible pain and I want to get better. And he says, okay, let's find out what's going on. And so he uses this process of muscle testing. So a muscle test, if you're not familiar with it, is basically, it's like a built-in lie detector test. So your system knows when something's true to it, and it knows when something is not true to it. Okay, and a lot of chiropractors use this process to kind of figure out which bones are out of alignment, or even what supplements you need to take to support your system. So he has me hold out my arm, and he says, say your name is Jenny, and I say my name is Jenny, and he tries to press on my arm, and my arm stays up, I'm resisting, and he says, say my name's Bob, and I say my name's Bob, and my arm goes down, which means it's not true to my system. There's a block from the energy signal from the brain to the muscle. I was familiar with this process. My dad's a chiropractor. He used it my whole life. But it was not for emotional stuff. It was all physical stuff, and he couldn't figure out what was going on with me. So he says, say your pain's physical. I'm thinking, of course it is, right? I say my pain's physical, my arm goes down, which means it's not. And I'm thinking, how could that be? I mean, look at the medical file, right? He says, say my pain is nutritional. And I'm thinking, I just wrote that nutrition book. I hope it's not that. It's not. Okay, good. Say my pain is electrical, my energy circuits are off, what acupuncturists deal with. No, it's not that. He says, say that your pain is emotional. And I'm thinking, it's not emotional. I remember my life was happy, healthy, and terrific. And he's pressing on my arm, and it's like steel. I'm like, press harder. He like cannot press my arm down. I'm like, that's baloney. I'm happy, healthy, and terrific, right? I just can't sit down. And he says, well, you know, you don't have to stay, there's the door. I'm like, oh, okay, let's talk about it. So he says, tell me about your childhood. And I said, I don't talk about my childhood. And he's like, okay. He says, tell me about your marriage. I said, yeah, I don't talk about my marriage. And he said, but I thought you were happy, healthy, and terrific. I said, I am, I just can't sit down. Can you please fix my back? And so I had a lot to learn, and I have learned a lot over the years about the connection between the mind and the body. I wouldn't even call it a connection anymore. It's like one and the same, okay? I had a lady call me the other day with a toothache. I'm like, I'm not a dentist, but we can do that. A couple minutes later, her tooth wasn't hurting anymore. She texted me, it's good. My daughter, my oldest daughter, is running a Ragnar race this weekend. So she ran 9 miles last night, and she's running that same again today. And she texted me last night, my hip hurts so bad I can't even put my leg in the car, right? So I tell her what to do. We reprogram it. This morning she runs her second leg. I text her, I'm like, how you doing? Perfect, feeling amazing, right? The power of the mind is incredible. I can give you story after story after story about how the mind can really, it doesn't understand the difference between imagination and reality. And I'll tell you a quick story. I was at Sprouts. I grabbed a jar of salsa and I went to put it in my cart. But I'd gotten one of those smaller carts that has the little lip in the front, and I forgot about it, and I wasn't looking, so when I went like that, I like pinched my finger in between the cart and the glass, like really fast, right? And I'm like, oh, right, my finger. And what am I thinking? Oh, it's gonna like turn black, it's gonna swell up, it's like burning. And then I'm like, wait, you know how to reprogram your mind. So like literally in the store, I start reprogramming my mind. I get in this position, which I'll teach you today, where you cross your arms and your legs, and it opens the brain bridge, the corpus callosum, and builds new neural pathways in the brain. And I reimagined it happening that I didn't hit my finger. I like grabbed the jar, I put it in the cart, and I went and got the next thing. And I just imagined that for like 30 seconds. And then I was like, okay, is my finger hurting? No. Okay, I look at it, is it red? No. It was like I erased it in my brain. Like, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's crazy, right? The mind is so powerful. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, absolutely. And so we're going to talk a lot about the subconscious mind today, because I was able to use the subconscious mind to fix my pain, to get over my painkiller addiction, which I didn't even know I had until the pain went away and I was still going for the pain pills. I used it to fix my marriage. I used it to find a career that I was so passionate about that I can't stop talking about it, right? And I used it to really change what happened in my childhood, to reprogram the stuff that was getting in my way. And it's like, the subconscious, it's timeless. And so I think of it almost like baggage, right? Somebody tells you you're unworthy, and you grab that bag, and someone tells you you're not good enough, and you grab that bag. And by the time you're, a couple decades in, you're trying to go through life, and when people say or do things, it hits those triggers, and you've got some emotional stuff, and how many people are taking medication for depression and anxiety and all these worries, and a lot of it is just built up stuff in the subconscious mind. So let's talk about the subconscious a little bit. So if you think, I love this example, just your eyes blinking. It's a subconscious program. It just happens, right? They just blink. Now, can you stop blinking? For a little while, right? You can keep your eyes open. But what happens if you start driving or having a conversation, or eventually you're going to start blinking again pretty quick, maybe 30 seconds, right? What about blinking your eyes really fast? You can do that for a while, but then it's not gonna last, right? And so that's kind of what it's like when we have a goal, when we want to change something in our life. We're like, okay, starting Monday, I am gonna change. I'm gonna eat better, I'm gonna exercise, I'm gonna control my temper, I'm gonna, listen better, whatever it is. And then all of a sudden, Wednesday you're eating donuts and your coworkers are like, what? I thought you were on a diet. Well, that was Monday, this is Wednesday, right? So you're consciously fighting your subconscious program. Whatever your subconscious believes is literally a printout of your life. And so if you want to know what your subconscious believes, you just have to look at your life. And then you work backwards. Oh, instead of feeling like this, I would rather feel like this. Instead of not having this, I would rather have this. Instead of this bad relationship, I'd rather change it to be like this type of relationship. So it's fascinating. It's literally a printout. And how we reprogram the subconscious mind is kind of like reprogramming a computer. We go in and we put in new code, and then just like your eyes blinking, it's different. It's changed. Like you wouldn't reprogram a computer and go, well, like, will it go back to the old program? Well, no, that's not how it works, right? It's a new program, and moving forward, it runs the new program. So it's super powerful and simple and effective to reprogram the subconscious mind. So where did you get your programming? Well, here's how the mind works. When you are literally in utero, you pick up your mom's stuff, right? If she was a happy pregnant mama, excited, you got a good start. If she wasn't, not so good, right? You picked up those programs. That's why a lot of times when even a baby is adopted that wasn't wanted for whatever reason, right? They come into the world with that, I'm not lovable, nobody wants me, I'm unworthy. It's like already in them. It's the craziest thing. So it starts there and it goes to when you're about 8 years old. Your mind is actually in a theta state. A theta state is like a hypnotic state, and you just take in whatever you see as your program. Just like that program I have from my family, you put on a happy face. Everything is good. Oh man, that program stuck hard. Like I didn't even realize it. The thing about real estate, one day my best friend Kelly, she's like, I don't think you like real estate. I'm like, oh no, I love real estate, right? And she's like, I don't think so. I'm like, oh no, I do. And so then over the next couple months, I was like paying attention. I'm like, no, I really do. I really love it. I love working with people, but then I'd have those daydreams, what if I could do something I loved? I'm like, maybe there is something to this. Like, it's all so subconscious, we don't realize what's going on with our programming. I was in Home Goods the other day, and there's this dad talking to this little girl, and I'm like, what language is that? I mean, she's like 3, right? And then they're like speaking English, and then they're speaking, I'm like, what? Japanese. I'm like, she speaks Japanese? Yeah. Because when you're that little, your mind is a sponge. It just takes anything, right? Whatever language you speak is the language that was spoken in your house. But what you also speak is the money language of the house, and the relationship language of the house, and the health language of the house. Again, not to pick on adopted kids, but when someone's adopted into a family, they literally pick up the same diseases that run in that family. So if heart disease is in that family or diabetes is in that family, guess who picks it up? It's a learned behavior. So I love Bruce Lipton. I don't even think I grabbed his book here. It's out there. It's called The Biology of Belief. He's a cellular biologist. And he explains that he learned, I think it was in the 60s, when they were cloning cells and learning about cells, that it didn't matter what was going on in the cell. It mattered the environment of the cell and how the cell was perceiving what was in its environment. And he said if a cell started to deteriorate or get sick, that they could change it by changing the environment around it. And he said he was fascinated with that process because he learned that we are 75 trillion cells. And how our cells respond is basically based on their perception. There's this little perceptor and a signal comes in and it judges. And there's basically like 3,000 choices of how it can read that signal. And it reads it based on really our perception, our experiences. And so he talks about how you can literally change at a cellular level when you reprogram the brain and the mind and change the perception of the cells. I love the science stuff. It's so fun to like really see the detail of it and how it actually works. So your subconscious mind is literally 1 million times more powerful than your conscious mind. It processes 40 million bits of information per second. So that's why you eat donuts on Wednesday. There's so much force in that subconscious mind that you really can't fight that programming. And then we beat ourselves up, right? I'm so disorganized, I'm so whatever it is, because we want to change. But it's easy to change if you change the subconscious programming. So I'm going to tell you how to change the subconscious programming. If you have paper, I want you to write a goal down. Yeah, go ahead and draw one. And I want you to write it like a positive affirmation, like it already exists. It's so easy for me to, whatever it is. Since we're here for pain, it can be, I am 100% pain-free, body, mind, and spirit. Whatever the goal is, what is the goal? What do you want to accomplish? So like it already exists, first person, present tense, short, powerful, emotionally meaningful. And then what you're going to do is you're going to describe that goal to the subconscious mind. The subconscious mind is sensory. That means it's visual and it's auditory and it's kinesthetic. So sometimes when we say, I'm happy and healthy and terrific, it's just words that the subconscious doesn't even understand. It doesn't even know how to recreate that. So we have to describe it to the subconscious. So I want you, for your own example, visually, what's going to visually look different in your life when you've accomplished that goal? If it's a pain thing we're talking about, is it you'll be able to, last summer I traveled Europe with my oldest daughter and we had backpacks. They were heavy, right? Everything we needed for our trip. And I thought, man, a few years ago I couldn't even sit. And now I'm backpacking through Europe, I can't even count the planes and trains and buses and subways and all the stuff we went on with these backpacks. I didn't have to think about it. It was like, what do I want to do with my life? I was able to accomplish that. So what visually looks different? And if you can, write 3 things down. Is it what you're able to do, or where you're able to go, or what changes? Is it something different in your relationships? Is it something monetary? What looks different? Give you a second to write all 3 things down. Sometimes a visual is hard. You want to be like how I feel, but it's no, what looks different. So think about it like in a movie. If you were watching yourself and you had this issue, and then the issue is gone, what would change in the movie? How would you know that issue wasn't there anymore? Would there be an action change? Would there be a smile on your face? Would there be a different interaction?
So if it's just the thing, like I want money, or a house, or a car, or something, do you say that, or you want to say how you get it? Or...
So the goal is something about making money. Mm-hmm. So the visual is, I bought the most beautiful home on 3 acres in San Marcos on a hilltop. So it's okay. That. Yep. Describing it visually.
So would you just review what the things were? So I've got a statement here.
Yeah.
And what do I want to say?
So visual. So what looks different when you've accomplished that goal first? Mm-hmm. The second one is auditory. So I like to say, what's someone who knows you and loves you going to say positively about you when you've accomplished that goal? oh my gosh, I'm so proud of you. I knew you could do it. What are they gonna say? Right? Give you a second for that one. And then the next one is, what are you gonna say to yourself? What positive thing are you gonna say? Yes, I knew I could do it. Oh my gosh, I'm so grateful that I was able to make this change. What are you gonna say to yourself? And the next one is kinesthetic, which is feeling. So I want you to pick one word only. How are you gonna feel when you've accomplished this goal? Is it happy? Is it ecstatic? Is it relieved? Is it joyful? How are you gonna feel when you've accomplished the goal? And then when you're doing this process at home, I want you to actually close your eyes and get into that feeling. So it's best to pick a feeling you've experienced before so you know what it feels like, and maybe you can go back to that time and pull that feeling back in. So once you've done that, your subconscious is now like, oh, I understand this goal. Now I see what it looks like and what it sounds like and what it feels like, so I can go to work at accomplishing this goal. And remember, the subconscious is processing 40 million bits of information per second. So it's either working for you or against you, right?
Right.
So you want it working for you. Otherwise, it's just a battle. Why can't I get rid of this pain? I'm just stuck here. Yeah. Okay. So, do one of you want to have a mind change right here with your goal? I'll show you how it works.
Do it, babe.
I want to see somebody else do it.
All right, Renee raised her hand, so
Sure.
come on up, Renee. Bring your paper,
Yay for
actually.
Renee.
Bring my
Yay for
paper.
Renee, yeah.
I don't know.
Have a seat.
To be a little vulnerable.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll try not to make this too vulnerable.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So in this process, it's best if you keep your feet flat on the floor. You keep your hands on your legs is good, or off, but not here. Your chin parallel and your eyes looking downward. That taps into the subconscious mind. Okay? So we're gonna do some muscle testing. Since I'm on this side, would you mind taking off your watch just so I'm not pressing on it? Okay, so in a muscle test, you can use any amount of pressure that you want, okay? So it's not an arm wrestle, it's her noticing if her arm locks into place or if it wobbles and she thinks I'm pressing harder because it's like there's a disconnect and it's going down, all right? So my goal and her goal is always the same pressure. I'm gonna press with the same pressure, she's gonna resist with the same pressure. If we don't, we're gonna call each other out on it, right? Sometimes someone will want to believe something, so they want their arm to stay up, and I see them holding their breath, and like, I see their legs tense and their abs tense, right? They're trying so hard to hold their arm. We're not trying to it doesn't matter what the answer is, but we need to know the answer in order to proceed, okay? So let's do a little practice muscle test, all right? All right, so I want you to say, my name is Renee.
My name is Renee.
Okay, I'm gonna press on your arm, you keep it up, okay? Hold it up. All right, how's that pressure, is that okay? Okay, now I want you to say, my name is George.
My name is George.
Okay, keep it up. Feel a difference?
Yep.
Okay, awesome. That's how easy it is. Now, I do this a lot, so it's so easy for me to know how hard to press and what to feel if you try it with each other. It takes a little practice, okay? If you want to practice with me afterward, I'm happy to do that with you, and I can show you some ways to do it. But basically, scientific tests have found, like they measured it with computers, your arm goes down with 58% less pressure when something's not true to your system, and 17% faster. So it's a scientific thing.
And anyone can do it? You say you practice on each other?
Yeah.
And you don't have to be certified or anything to
Right.
do this?
Right? Yeah, absolutely, you can do that. So Doing this for yourself, though, is kind of like buying a gym membership. Doing it with us is kind of like having a personal trainer, right? So there's a difference. Yeah, go to the gym, powerful, but if you're not seeing the results you want, get a coach. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so would you be willing to share your goal?
Yes, I
Okay.
want a beautiful home, and you pretty well described it. I'd like
Oh.
a little bit of I want a
Nice.
view with big windows, with lots
Nice.
of greenery and sunshine, light, places to play, entertain.
Yeah,
Yeah, all that.
awesome. Okay, so how did you write it in a statement that was like a positive affirmation? Did you?
Just was kind of getting there actually.
Okay.
So I'm traveling the blue waters of Europe and Asia was first. And I have great energy and wealth, and I have a beautiful home with light, windows of sunshine, greenery, vistas and views,
Awesome.
patios for entertaining.
Okay, so is the goal the house, or is the goal just financial freedom to have the travel in the house and the?
It's really overall the financial freedom, I can
Okay.
do whatever I want. Right?
Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
So let's write a statement specific to financial freedom.
okay.
Okay, so it could be a dollar amount. It's so easy for me to make X dollars per month, per year. It could be, I've made so much money in real estate that I can buy anything. I live my dream. It's your statement, it's your program. So we can put it however you want to say it.
So can I talk and
Yes,
like,
go for it.
so my mind is already going, okay, what's I gonna take? Maybe I don't have it in me that I really wanna do that. Or if I have so much money, then I have to hire all these people to work for me, and then I don't really wanna do all that either. Like, how do you get to where you don't have that voice going on?
More programming.
Okay.
So the first goal is the big thing, and then we can work through step by step.
Those are
Okay.
good questions, thanks
Yeah.
for announcing.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like, okay, now that I can do that, my subconscious supports it, I'm afraid to, just what you said, have a whole staff. I don't know that I want to deal with that, right? So that's something to consider. I mean, once you've really looked deeply into your goal, it's like, but do I want that? Maybe I don't. So maybe I need to change my goal. Maybe I don't need, 10 million a year, but maybe I need 500,000 a year because the business looks different. So something to consider.
Yeah, I've done that. Like, I really wanna get married, but then maybe I don't. Because
Right.
there's all these other things,
Right.
right? So I have to.
Yeah, exactly. So we work through each part. There's a lot of beliefs and thoughts, right? I mean, all day, every day, we're thinking and talking to ourselves, right? And so that's why a lot of people like to work with us over like a 6 or 12-month process, because I love to talk about it like remodeling a house. You're like, oh, we just get new floors, it'd be perfect. And you put in the new floors, you're like, dang, we should have painted, right? And now, this lighting, really? And what about the hardware, So you come up with more stuff. And so we work through all those programs. I still reprogram myself because life happens and things come up, right? All right, so what do you think? What's your goal gonna be?
I liked the one, not it's so easy, but I make so much money.
Uh-huh.
It's so easy would be helpful probably too.
Okay.
I travel and I enjoy it. I take my family, we see sights and we bond. I have a gorgeous home.
Okay, so we're gonna shorten it up
Yeah,
because
so
you're
how-
gonna have to repeat it to
Okay.
yourself in this
Okay.
process, okay? So you could just say something like, I make all the money I need to live my dreams,
All the money I
something like that.
need to live my dreams. Okay?
Does that
Sure.
work? Does that make sense to you?
Yep.
It's your brain, it's your statement, so we don't wanna program it wrong.
Sure.
You're good with that one?
Yeah.
Okay, so keep it there on your lap so you can take a look at it, okay? So give me your arm. So read your statement, and when you're reading it, I want you to get into the feeling of it, like it's actually happening,
Okay.
okay?
I make all the money I need to live my dreams.
Okay, eyes looking down. Get in the feeling of that statement, be strong. Does your arm stay up?
No.
I lost it, it was, okay. So that means her subconscious doesn't believe this goal. All right, so is it okay if we switch that around for you?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna check with her system if it's okay to do that first. We don't wanna mess with what's right for her. So go ahead and hold your arm up again. Okay, so her system is telling me we can proceed. Now we're gonna find out which process we can use. We always like to go for the easiest one. So we have a process called hookups. We'll see if that's the best one. Okay, eyes looking down, be strong. Okay, so that works. So for this process, you're gonna cross your right ankle over your left. Okay, keep your arm up. And stay up. Okay, switch your feet the opposite way. Okay, keep your arm up. And then stay up. Okay, awesome. So keep them like that. Put your arms out in front of you, right over left. I'm gonna press down. Keep them up. Does that stay up? Switch them the other way. Keep them up. Stay up.
No.
Okay, switch them back. Now interlace your fingers like this. And send them in your lap or up to your chest, whatever's more comfortable. Okay, you're gonna close your eyes and you're gonna be repeating your statement silently. So what's going on right now? Literally, the brain bridge is opening. And this can happen in the middle of a class, right? New neural pathways are being built in her brain to have this become her reality. So just like those eyes blinking, right, we're changing her program. Because before she had something blocking that. And now it's not. Now it's gonna be like, you hear of like the manifesting, like how do you manifest it? You believe it in your subconscious, that's how you manifest it. You really get into the feeling of it and you believe it. Well, it's hard to do if your mind's not programmed for it because it just keeps switching back to its old program. You're like, I'm gonna manifest it. And then you're like, now I'm sending an email. And your brain's like, no, you're not manifesting it. That's not your program, right? So now it's gonna become her program. The cool thing about the brain is when you're born, there's like a super highway of neural connections between both sides of your brain. And as you grow up, you become like one-brained. You get pathways and habits and patterns, and they're stuck on one side or the other. And then it's almost like you're hopping through life, right? Everything you perceive and see is on one side of the brain. And so this process changes that and reconnects the brain, so you have new neural pathways. And you'll see out there on our table, we actually have a brain map, and you can see what happens during this exact process. You can see all the new neural pathways.
How
that are built.
often does she do this?
Just right now, that's it.
That's it?
Yeah. Yeah. So when she feels it's complete, she's gonna open her eyes, and then we're gonna continue with the process. So when I saw this demonstrated, I thought, I don't know about that. That looks too simple, too easy, right? But I went and I learned the process, and it was at a time that I had decided to leave my marriage because it was just, I couldn't take it anymore. And when I came home, I looked at my husband and I was like in love. I was like, what just happened? He wasn't there.
Let me cross my feet for a minute.
Yeah.
That's everybody.
Yeah, so I found out, you know what, it doesn't have to be that complicated. You know, I think it's Albert Einstein says that, you know, we consciously like to overcomplicate things because it seems smarter that way. But literally, we don't need to complicate things. We can find a process, a scientific process that changes the brain quickly and easily. We can go on and live our happy life and do what we're meant to do and really find the joy. So this process, we do the same thing with you when we're working remotely. So my facilitators would be on Zoom, which is like Skype if you're not familiar. And what they do is they muscle test themselves. So they're able to pick up your energy signal, okay? So I'll do it with Greg right now while she's in this process. So I basically can pick up your energy signal, so just give me a second. So I'm muscle testing like this instead of pressing the arm, because I could press my arm, but this is easier. Okay, so now I'm gonna say that my name is Jenny. So that doesn't hold, that's like a weak signal, okay? And I'm gonna say my name is Greg. So it locks, okay? That's because I'm picking up your signal, so I can read your energy now. Doesn't mean I can read your mind, don't worry. My son is always like, can you read my mind? No, I can't. But if you want help, I can do that. And then you can say your goal, and I can check if your subconscious believes it or doesn't. I can find out if it's safe to proceed. I can figure out which process. And then I would have you cross your legs, and they check it and go through the process the same way. So it's amazing, it's powerful. Now I'm gonna let go of your energy. Okay, I'm myself again. I'm always myself. It's just picking up a signal. It's like a cell phone, right? It sends a signal, your phone receives it, sends back a signal, my phone receives it. How much more complex is a human body than a cell phone, right? People just don't realize they can do it. Now this thing it's tricky to learn. All right, so if you go home and try it and you're like, man, that doesn't work. I watched my dad do this my whole life, and I could never get it until I got trained in it. This process is pretty easy. You can press on somebody's arm and notice the difference pretty easily. Testing yourself is a little bit more of a skill that you can learn if you want to. So Renee is spending her sweet time taking extra long.
I'm good.
She's taking
I don't
a
know.
nap.
I'm just trying to listen, yeah.
I'm good. Do you feel it's
I'm just
complete?
open my eyes. Okay, yeah.
Okay, put your feet flat on the floor.
So, do I do this?
No, go ahead and go like this, like my hands, out in front of you. Okay, perfect. Just give that a second. Keep looking downward. Okay, let's check it now. You have your arm. Alright, so keep that hand that way. Can you still see your goal?
Mm-hmm.
You remember it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, say it out loud.
I make enough money to do whatever I want and my dreams come true.
Go ahead and read it.
Yeah.
Say it the way we
I
wrote it.
make all the money I need to live my dreams.
Okay, keep your arm up. How's that? Is that strong? There you go, that's a high five for you. Woohoo!
Yeah.
Awesome. So we just changed that programming in her subconscious mind. Is that amazing? That is
Where are you gonna
amazing.
get us started?
Now you want to see what I do, right?
Yes, I'd really like
Yes,
to know.
yes. And what you said is important. Like,
Wait,
oh, but when I do that, I've got these other blocks, so we should work on those other blocks too. Because if you program the big goal, but you have blocks along the way, it's slower to get there, even though your subconscious is working on it. So you want to clear all the blocks. So for our own pain, what do? We can balance that I'm pain-free, but sometimes pain is a trigger from something in the past. It's like something happened in our life, and our subconscious connected that emotion, that experience, that trauma or drama with pain. And because the subconscious is timeless, everything that was traumatic in our life runs all the time like it's current. And so it could be triggering that. So that's something we can check on. Your pain could be a message, and I think of this like an alarm clock. If your alarm clock's ringing and you press snooze, what's going to happen? It's going to ring again, right? With my pain growing up, what did I do? Surgery, pills, doctors. It was like an alarm clock. It just kept ringing. It was like trying to give me a message. Is there a message from your pain? If there is, we can find out what it is. And once we get the answer, many times, it's cleared up. Okay? That's what happened to me with my painkiller addiction. Pressing on my arm, why are you still taking the pain pills? Like, I did not know I had a painkiller addiction. The pain stopped, and I was going to the medicine cabinet, and I'm like, what am I doing? I'm not in pain anymore. And I'm telling myself, don't take it, you're not in pain. And this other voice was like, no, you have to take it. And I'm like, no, yes, what is going on? Give me those pills, right? And then I was working with this doctor, and he said, well, don't go every 4 hours. Go every 5 hours, take a pain pill. I was like, I can do that. 4 hours and 1 minute? I need those pain pills. It was crazy. Never had something like that. So we start working on it, and he says, why are you taking them? And I say, I'm addicted. Nope. I'm like, what? Okay, I'm taking them because I'm afraid of the withdrawals. Nope. I'm I'm taking them because I'm afraid to be in pain again. Nope. I don't know, why am I taking them? We do some more checking? Because you're gonna have to deal with your life. That's what we found out. These pain pills are numbing your emotions. And when you stop numbing your emotions, you're gonna feel your emotions, and you might not wanna feel that. You know what? That information was such an aha for me. I never took another pain pill again. Did I want to? Yes, really bad. I mean, I described it like as if a semi was driving at me full speed and I just had to stand there. Like that's how bad I wanted to like move, right? But I didn't. And you know, a week, 10 days, I was throwing up, freaking out, but I survived, right? So is there a message from your pain? We can find out what it is. I love this book, Healing Back Pain and The Divided Mind. These are both by Dr. John Sarno. And he talks about emotions and pain. And he spent 25 years working with 10,000 chronic pain patients. And 90% of them became pain-free just by working through emotions. He was fascinated because he would see two images, two x-rays. One guy with slip discs, the other guy with slip discs. This guy on disability chronic pain, this guy didn't even know he had slip discs. He's like, this doesn't make sense. How could this be? And so he started asking, like kind of like this worksheet I gave you, digging a little deeper. What's going on in your life? What's going on in your emotions? And he found that a lot of people that had chronic pain were like the go-getter, do-gooder, perfectionist, trying to live up to this crazy standard, putting so much pressure on themselves, grew up in a house that maybe put so much pressure on them, just living a life with maybe a career that was so much pressure. And he actually discovered this thing that as a subconscious emotion starts to come up, that the subconscious says, that's dangerous, don't share that feeling with the conscious mind. And so what the subconscious does is it blocks blood flow. It's called ischemia to a certain part of the body. And guess what? It goes to the weak part. It goes to the broken back. When there's a lack of blood flow, there's pain. No, it doesn't hurt the body, like physically hurt it. You can feel pain. And so he says, when you feel pain, here's what you do. You ask yourself, what emotion am I blocking? So I was on a walk the other day, and I'm walking up the hill, and my knee starts hurting. And I go, I wonder what's wrong with my knee. And then I laugh, because I'm like, I wonder what emotion I'm blocking. I should know better, right? But we're so trained to think that our physical pain is physical. That even me, knowing this stuff, I ask that question. Luckily, I catch on quickly and laugh. And then I ask myself, what emotion am I blocking? What's going on in my life? And I thought of a conversation that I had with one of my kids. That was a little upsetting, but I didn't let it be upsetting. I just kind of blocked it, which I, grew up very good at blocking all this stuff. And it was coming out in my knee. As soon as I realized that, my knee stopped hurting. And so what he did with his patients was he helped them make that connection. He said it doesn't matter if you know you have emotional pain and you know you have physical pain until you make the connection that you're having physical pain because of the emotional pain. And when you can reprogram that emotional pain, the physical pain goes away. Fascinating, his work. And they, scientifically study this lack of blood flow, and they can see what happened with it. It's powerful. So I want you guys to know that the subconscious mind is the secret. I think it's the best discovery of the 21st century. It doesn't matter what's in our genes, it doesn't matter what's happened in our life. It doesn't matter any of that. What matters is we can create our own reality with the power of subconscious mind. So what I would highly recommend to you guys is read my book. I would highly recommend that you get on a 30-minute free phone call with myself or one of my mind reprogramming experts. We're going to talk about what's working in your life and what's not working in your life and what you want to be working in your life. And then we'll share with you what resources we have that can support you in accomplishing your goals. So out on the table, there's a little enter to win. So if you all enter, one of you is gonna win a free mind reprogramming session, which is pretty amazing, a whole hour. Imagine what you can do in an hour, right?
Okay.
And you can all have a free 30-minute phone call. So I recommend that you do that out there on the table. There's also a couple other little tickets out there. I'm speaking next weekend with a couple famous ladies up in Huntington Beach. It's a health and wealth conference. So if you're interested in any of that, let me know. I can sneak in for free. Also, in October 3rd through the 5th in San Diego, I'm teaching a 3-day workshop on mind reprogramming for business success. So it's mainly for business owners who are looking to reprogram their mind for success in business.
You do it for realtors too?
Absolutely, yes.
You a realtor too?
No, I'm the AE for the association.
Okay.
Julie and I work for the association.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. So that's going to be an amazing event for more money, more time, and more freedom. So if you know someone looking for that, that's going to be an awesome event. So when you have pain, emotional or physical, I want you to ask yourself, is it a twig, like we talked about in the beginning, or is it an eastern brown snake? If you're bitten by a snake, your pain eventually will stop. But if your pain continues, there's something more. There's something going on in the subconscious mind. If you have emotional pain, it's live in the subconscious mind until you reprogram it. I had a lady come in the other day, she's 70 years old. She started talking about 5th grade and her mean teacher, and she's crying. This is 60 years ago. Her teacher was so mean to her, right? And she's crying. I'm like, you're 70. Let it go, right? But how do you let it go when it's in the subconscious mind and it keeps replaying subconsciously? Consciously, she doesn't know about it till she talks about it and gets emotional, right? So we did what we did here with Renee. We reprogrammed it. I'm like, think about your teacher. Talk about your teacher. She was like, it's fine. It's gone. It's done. It's over. It's that fast to change that neural pathway in the brain. So it's just like, you know, if you're going through a forest and you start making a new path, right? All of a sudden, this one's going to get grown over and this one's going to be your path. Your brain is going to take that route. So I'm here to tell you that you can reprogram emotional and physical pain away. Yes, if you break your arm or break your leg, it's going to take 6 weeks. If you have pain longer than 6 weeks, it's in the subconscious mind and we can reprogram it. So thank you
How
guys.
often is pain actually pain?
It's pain when you injure yourself. That's when it's pain. But your body is meant to heal, right? I don't know any part of your body, maybe a ligament takes a little bit longer to heal than a bone, but it's not supposed to last. You hear people like, oh, I was in a car accident 10 years ago in my neck, right? Or an old football injury or something like that. It's emotional, it's subconscious pain. It's a loop, a pain loop in the subconscious mind. So if
How
it's
do we get rid of that loop?
right
9
here,
back surgeries,
9 back surgeries.
2 brain surgeries.
Oh,
How do we get rid of this loop?
yeah,
Current
For
one
20
is
years.
above the hardware.
jeez, yeah.
Yeah.
We need to talk.
It's
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Yeah, absolutely. I get that. I haven't had 9 back surgeries or any brain surgeries.
So I'm looking for a miracle.
Okay, I believe in miracles. I believe I am a miracle. I believe this process is miraculous. This discovery is miraculous because people don't have to stay in that kind of pain.
Do you ever
Yeah.
find people are resistant to moving forward? Even though they want to, they still resist?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
not on purpose, but.
Right. If I sense that or they mention it or I see that, we reprogram their resistance. I mean, usually if they're super resistant, they don't work with us, right? And it's even interesting, this doctor, Dr. John Sarno, he said my patients would come in and I would decide if I was gonna treat them like this or medically based on how they answered my questions. Were they open to the idea that their mind could reprogram and change their body? Or were they no, I want a pain pill, I want a surgery, and that's what he would offer. It was fascinating. Yeah, awesome. Thank you guys for being here today. I'm happy to stay and answer questions. This is that exercise that we went through. Visual, auditory, kinesthetic, what's your goal? You can do it here. It's my Facebook Messenger bot. It's like a little cartoon of me, and it's interactive. So if you have Facebook Messenger on your phone or computer, you just go to changethatbrain.com. It's the same that's on my coaster, and you can do that exercise as much as you want, because describing it to the subconscious mind is huge. So thanks for being here. I'm going to stop my recording, and then I'm happy to stay and answer questions and talk some more.